So superheroes have kind of taken over. Okay, not kind of, like a lot. They're in our theaters, they're on our TV screens, they're on our t-shirts, they're on our underwear. Don't lie, I know you have superhero underwear. Everyone in the world is spending a lot of time watching superhero media. But today I have one individual who's creating superhero media. We've seen the worlds of Marvel and DC, but what if we take a glimpse into the world of a superhero that the world has yet to meet? Well, today we're going to sit down and look into that world. So keep it locked here and let's see what's going on with Shell Shock, an original comic that'll be coming soon. Don't go anywhere. Alright guys, here I have Jafari Jackson, creator of Shell Shock.
Baraka Jaka, and if it wasn't me, then who else is it?
Now that right there, what you just did, that's a catchphrase from your comic, right?
It is, yes. Yes, it is a catchphrase that the character Shell Shock himself uses numerous times. A lot. It's something... It's a battle cry. A really interesting and funny and yet spontaneous word, but battle cry. I'll just say, that word when I made it up, at the time, it felt stupid, and it's still stupid to this day. But the universe is so dark, and you need something to laugh at. Also, the word for Raka Jaka, something about it just feels right.
Right, and to kind of put it into perspective, it's kind of like how the Ninja Turtles have their Booyakashas, their Cowabungas. This is pretty much applied to Shell Shock. He has his own catchphrase, kind of like those other brands that you're into.
Yes, it's like when you're watching a show with one of these heroes, the Thing from the Fantastic Four, when he says it's collaborating time, you don't want to be around for that moment. When the Hulk says Hulk smash, you really don't want to be around for that moment. I suggest you just leave the Earth because there's the Hulk Destroyer, World Destroyer. I'm just saying, because these little catchphrases that these superheroes, sometimes villains, when they say it, they're memorable.
I just got to ask, because when you watch a lot of stuff, especially imagine for the first time, like your first time ever, you discover Spider-Man, you discover the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Star Wars. You know nothing of their creators. You think, though, what inspired them to do this? Like, what sparked this idea in their head? And it's not many chances that you get to sit down in front of someone who's actually creating something for themselves. So now that I have a creator in front of me, I have the chance to ask this. What inspired you to make a comic book?
It was my grandmother, Helen Jackson, who was a book publisher. She inspired me to get in the realm of books in general, but I fell more into comic books. She did more children's books and chapter books. Those are kind of books she wrote. I felt a very big interest in how it works. I can create my own world. I get to create something like my idols, like Marvel, DC, and definitely the TMNT. Me and my friend, we started creating characters. We went from just paper to stories and world building. We don't really know how. It just kind of just happened with the character Shell Shock. Before his name was even Shell Shock, he was just a character with a suit that didn't look the way it did now. When I got to that stage, I told my grandma I wanted to make a comic book. She was by my side along the entire way. I promised her that I was going to get this book finished and that it was going to become something other than just being in my brain. And I started to love this story more. But then, around 2019, February 7th, she passed away. After production started to slow, I started to kind of lose the mindset of what I wanted to do. But I remembered, I promised her that this book was going to become a reality. And it will no longer just stay in my head. That I wanted to have it see the light of day. I've been through a very hard path in life. And this comic, at its fullest, I could tell my story and show the process. And that way people see, no matter what, you can really do what you want. We live in an age where you can make anything happen. We have phones that are basically small computers.
With you going down that road of making a comic, you can't really, have a comic without a story, right? So I guess that's what I got to ask, man. What's the comic about? We know the story behind the comic, but what's the story in the comic?
The story of the comic. Now, believe it or not, it's just my story. So for anyone out there who's nosy, you're going to love this. The story itself, it actually is my entire story. All I did was bring my real life into a fictional world. And of course, like true tales, when they say based on the true story, this is based on a true story. But of course, in true stories that they put in film or anything else, they tweak it a little bit. Would you really want to see me walk to the bus stop, or would you want to see explosions while I'm walking to the bus stop? I mean, which one seems like more of an interest rate right there? Just like, I mean, I'm pretty sure people are gonna watch the explosion because either they're like, oh my god, he's gonna die, or oh my god, ha ha ha, he died, or oh, he's dead, or just looking at a guy that walks every day to the bus stop. This little things that you add on is what makes it so much more of a key. The character Shell Shock is me. My name is Jafari. In the comic, his name is Fari, but the story is about a kid who had dreams similar to me. Our dream was to create a comic, and in the comic, you will see what blocked that. His story starts from where someone else's story in the comic ended. We all live, have fun, do what we do. Something happened, something dramatic happened, and it has to make him change his brain a little bit on how reality is. He didn't believe some of the stuff that were said to him, so he had to train his mind into a whole new realm of things. He is being framed for something that he didn't do. He is being given something that he didn't necessarily ask for, but he's not going to turn it down. Most superhero stories have the superhero hate being a hero. Not the case. This one, he wants to be a hero. He's seen it on movies, he's seen it on comics, he's seen it everywhere. It seems easy, but when you're really getting thrown against a wall, fighting creatures that you shouldn't have any business seeing in the first place, your mind starts to think about it. Like, I kind of want to take this mask off and just go sit down and watch some TV because this is a little more than I can handle. But his responsibilities that were given to him is what's making him do this. And he owned up to it and realized that if he doesn't do this, something worse is going to awaken.
You know everything that's going to go down, and there's a part of you that just wants to let it all out, but you know if they find out for themselves, man, that's a whole nother feeling. So I get you there. I'm excited to see where this all goes. I'm excited for other people to see it just as much as, or you even more so. I'm sure you're ready to see how the world reacts to Shell Shock. So speaking of that, Shell Shock, man, why the name Shell Shock?
So funny enough, I mean, believe it or not, would you believe if it came from the two of things? One might sound like a duh, and the other might sound like a lie. So it came from when I listened to the 2014 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Michael Bay film music video.
Oh, you mean Knock Knock? I don't know why. You're about to get shell shocked?
Yeah.
Can we consider that a classic at this point?
At this point, it's so hip. Knock knock, you're about to get shocked, that's for sure. I was curious if it had been used before for a character. And it was. There was a character in Power Rangers, I believe, that had the name Shell Shock, if I'm correct. I liked the name Shell Shock. Something about the name, after probably hearing it so much in the song, knock knock, you're about to get shell shocked. Well, they knocked me with the shell shock, and that was stuck in my head, and now my character is Shell Shock.
It's funny you mentioned Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You know, everybody knows I'm a big fan of the TMNT. I'm sure you're a big fan of the TMNT. So one thing that I think of besides pizza and cowabunga, if you ask me what's the first thing that comes to mind when I hear Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it's the action figures. I think TMNT is known for having some pretty awesome toy waves from every series. Yes. So when you have a brand, man, action figures, they kind of go hand in hand with that. So you actually have an action figure. I want to ask you about that, man. That's awesome.
I do. The story about that is I like taking extra steps beyond. Even though the comic isn't out yet, I like giving out little things or doing little things that would keep me motivated. And it was the next stage for having that happen. As a matter of fact, I have it hung up. It's right here.
Oh, snap. It's your boy.
I really have it. The Shell Shock action figure, and with the back and everything. It's truly great. I want to give a shout out right quick to Action Jack Customs. It's on Instagram. I don't know if you can see that right there. He's the one who made this. for me, and gratitude for him for really, really putting it to justice. And I advise anyone who wants the action figure made, go to him. He's really good at his craft. I support him.
All right. So we'll have Action Jack Customs in the description below. Make sure you guys go ahead and check him out if you want some stuff made, or just check out what he has in store for you guys. You saw what he did here, so make sure you go support. The next question that I have for you is, what's the age rating for this thing? Because keeping in theme with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, we've seen it go through multiple phases with the original Mirage comics, leaning more towards the mature audiences, to with the flip of a hat in just a couple years, it's for kids. So with this, we're seeing the birth of a new brand. Who's your target demographic?
I really want this to really ring more towards the adult realm kind of things, or teens. That's why I want to keep it a little bit of a higher age limit, because this is not necessarily a comic for children because of the profanity level. It's quite graphic, so I do want to keep it more adult. Also, I feel like the adults, or just teens in general, deserve a little bit more. People make it seem like that in comics or in stuff like this, it has to be towards children, and they make it seem like that, like, teens or adults can't enjoy comics or cartoons. Like, they're supposed to be for everybody. And if this gets any further, I want it to really own up for everybody. Like I said, when it comes on TV or etc., it probably will be down just a little bit, but it should not ever lose its core audience for the teens, at least in adults. It should not ever lose its core audience.
Okay, so there in your last answer towards that question, you mentioned how a lot of people look to comics and cartoons on a surface level and go, oh, that's for kids, right? So let's target directly on cartoons. All right. So I know you want Shell Shock to branch out into different mediums, and to kind of visualize that, you had an actual 2D animation made already, right? How did you get that made?
Yes. When that was made, like I said, process, just like the action figure, process. I went through an app called Fiverr, I believe. I do not want to give him like no credit. I want him to have credit. What he did for me was blessing as well. He worked on it, and he actually is willing to work on more projects with me. He reached out to me, and he said he's seen potential in the character Shell Shock. So he wants to continue working with Shell Shock, which I found surprising. I felt love for him. That means he cares about the character enough to want to reach back out to me when I reached out to him in the beginning. I want to say thank you to him. What he did for me, wonderful. Like, it's not easy just making an animation. You should know, if anybody.
It's tedious work. Definitely worth it. Definitely worth it in the outcome, man. And the animation looks great. Like, it looks really, really exciting.
It was one of those things where I just put my voice in it because I am literally the character of Shell Shock. So I was testing it out. But I really think I might just repost it and put like a better, voice into it, because it just sounds it doesn't match well. But I love the animation. I will say that. And I'm happy to have him do more. And I'm happy to say that I am confident in Shell Shock enough to have it go on as the process that it is going into. I feel that it is doing its justice so far, and I make myself continue to branch out just like a tree. There's going to be different branches, and I'm going to be making sure that I dabble into a lot of things.
I just got to say, man, this is awesome. We got creator right here making his own things. He's putting good out in the world, something that he wants everybody to enjoy and check out. If you guys out there have a project you're working on, don't be discouraged. Start right now. It doesn't matter. The first thing you put out might be crappy. Improve with time. If you get something out there, I'm telling you, you're going to be miles ahead of a lot of people who just have something in their head and won't actually put it on a screen. So I want to thank you so much, Jafari Jackson, for coming on the channel and allowing me to host your comic on here and help get eyes on it, man. So make sure all of you guys follow this guy on everything that he's on. I'll leave all of his platforms in the description. Make sure you go out there and spread the shock.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you spread the shock. I just want to say thank you for having me come here. It was more than enough pleasurable for me. Like I said, I'm a big fan of yours, and this was just, this felt so humble and great of you to even allow me on here. I'm glad to be able to talk to you.
Oh,
and
no
I just want to say, it was my last word. as my last words, I want to say Faraka Jaka.
Ah.